I'm really excited and honoured because I get to introduce Dr. Will Tuttle. He's an educator, composer, pianist and writer, author of the international bestseller, The World Peace Diet, published in 16 languages. He's a peace activist, vegan for 40 years. He's a recipient of the Courage of Conscience Award and the Empty Cages Award. Ph.D. from UC Berkeley, focusing on educating intuition and altruism. Creator of the World Peace Diet training programs. He taught college courses in philosophy, humanities, and comparative religion. He's a former Zen monk and a Dharma master in the Korean Zen tradition. Co-founder of the Worldwide Prayer Circle for Animals. Currently, he's conducting a music, art and education ministry with his spouse, Madeline, a visionary artist from Switzerland, specialized in painting that celebrates the beauty of animals and nature. Madeline is also a flautist, a Waldorf teacher, vegan cook and coach, and organic gardener. And having experienced them both yesterday in the workshop, they were truly a gift for all of us and all of humanity. So let's give a warm welcome for Dr. Will Tuttle.
Thank you so much, Helen. Thank you everyone for joining us. I'd like to begin with the meditation, so let's get comfortable, please. And I'll do it from the piano. living animals celebrating their lives. For the whole human family on an adventure of awakening to the truth that we are. And we know that the light that shines at the heart of the universe shines always also in our heart, in every cell of our being, bringing every dimension of our life into alignment with the truth that we are, with abundance and joy and freedom, creativity, compassion, awareness. And we know that we have a purpose for this life, a reason that we are here on this earth, a mission that we are fulfilling. And we just allow the music now to deepen our connection with the truth. Of our being. Abiding in peace, abiding in freedom, abiding in joy, abiding in abundance, abiding in love. Abiding in gratitude. May all beings be happy and at peace. May all beings be free. May we all realize the original brightness of our minds and hearts. And may we continue together to build a more enlightened society, a world that cares for everyone, for all expressions of life. Through the power and through the presence of the infinite and eternal, living Spirit of the Christ, shining always in our heart as wisdom and compassion. We give thanks, knowing this is so, and so it is. To thank you all for joining together in the meditation. And before going into the talk, I'd like to share a piece of original piano music. So this will be a piece called Benediction of Light. And the whole idea is just to send a blessing out into our community and into our world. So feel free to let the music take you on an inner journey, wherever it takes you. And I'd like to dedicate this to the healing of all of our relations and to affirming the truth that we are part of a global awakening of human consciousness on this planet, that we can live our lives as we are intended to here, with peace and wisdom and abundance and love. Enjoy. Thank you very much. So, I guess I can just use this microphone. This is kind of fun. So, how's everybody doing? Good? Great. It's great to be here this morning in beautiful Las Cruces. Madeline and I are on a lecture tour, going around to Unity churches and lots of other places for a few months. We lived actually in an RV for 17 years and traveled full-time around the United States, and we're still doing that quite a bit, actually. And so one of the things I like to always remind us at the beginning here is that we're part of a movement, a very large and growing movement. The Unity movement has ministries in all the states. We've been to Unity churches in every state in the United States except for North Dakota. There isn't one there yet, but when there is, we'll be there. And many other countries. We've been to Unity churches in Europe and Australia and Caribbean and other places. So I think it's good to remember the fact that there's people meeting just like we are, on Sunday morning. And I think it's one of the healthiest movements also, in the sense that it's a movement that's based on inclusion. And really a radical kind of inclusion where we include, not only is everyone welcome here, but also we include the whole human heritage that we share on this earth of wisdom teachings. They honor many different traditions, and I think this idea of inclusion is so important today to help us to awaken out of the cultural trance of division and separateness and conflict and competition and domination and exploitation of humans and animals and of ecosystems that characterizes our society in many ways, and to reconnect with the inner wisdom that's always shining in our hearts. And so I love going to Unity Village. How many of you have actually been to Unity Village? A lot of you have. If you haven't been there, it's kind of like going to Mecca. Try to go once in your life to Unity Village and see the prayer tower and where the prayers are always happening. We'll be actually giving we're putting on we've already put on one workshop at Unity, but we're going to do another one in September on compassion for all living beings, for all life. It'll be really getting back to the roots, to the original foundational teachings of Charles and Myrtle Fillmore. That's in September 10th to the 13th, I think. We have some postcards on our table about it, but you're definitely welcome to join us for that. And I think the other thing about Unity that I really love is the emphasis on intuition, on this capacity that we all have to connect with our own inner wisdom. We did a workshop here yesterday afternoon on this, but this is something that Charles and Myrtle Fillmore emphasized a lot. And Charles Fillmore is kind of famous for his saying that we should all go straight to headquarters, right? We should all develop our capacity to just make a direct connection to headquarters. For him, it was easy. What he meant by that was, I'll just ask Myrtle. The underlying idea here really is that each one of us can connect with our own inner wisdom. And I think this is the thing to just remember, that all of us have been born into a culture where from the time we're little infants, we're taught that we're just a physical body. This is what we are, this piece of meat. And I think it's important to realize that we're not just an object that was born and will die, that we are what makes this possible. And this is something that is an intellectual idea. When I just say it in words, it's a conceptual idea. And as such, it's helpful. It's helpful to have that idea. But I think it's important for us to move beyond just having it as an intellectual idea to actually experiencing it in some way, that what we are is life itself that is eternal. It's very difficult for us to experience that when our mind is busy and we're always thinking about what I should have done and what I shouldn't have done and what they're going to do. We're very much caught up in our society because of the cultural program, and because we're so busy, in a sense, just trying to survive here in many ways, that our lives can fly by very quickly and we never actually get present in a deeper sense to experience pure consciousness, the pure eternal consciousness that is our true nature. The silence out of which a deeper harmony and peace can begin to permeate into not only the cells of our physical body, but beyond that into the fabric of our awareness. So I think it's really important to take time every day to practice. Like when I sit at the piano and play, people say, oh, you just have a gift, you were just kind of born, you have this gift, I don't have that. And I say, yeah, well, I don't know, I had to practice every day. And I think that's the key thing. I remember, like, when I was a kid, luckily my father played the piano, so I like to be like my father, so I said, all right, I want to, learn how to play. And he said, okay, but you need to practice if you want to. And so I took lessons and had these books, and I was doing the scales and exercises and all these things, and I had to mark on the kitchen chart that I did my 45 minutes every day, and that was a discipline. And I think we have to realize that discipline is our good friend. Discipline. We have this idea that discipline. Oh, I don't like discipline. Discipline is kind of a bummer, But really, discipline. When we connect with something that we love, then our discipline becomes a fulfillment of unfolding what we love, unfolding a higher liberation. If we don't have a sense of discipline and we just eat whatever we want and go wherever we want and drink whatever we want and say whatever we want, however we want to say to other people, pretty soon we're going to reap probably a lot of suffering. And so we can learn from that. That's not necessarily bad, but we learn from these things. But I think in many ways, like the piano, just as a metaphor, this is just coming to me right now, but I think I would sit down every day and practice and gradually develop a certain capacity. And this is something that's so important for us to do in terms of our mind, right? Because at a certain point, like in terms of the piano, at a certain point it turns into liberation. I can sit at the piano now and just, and amazing things can happen for me. I mean, through consciousness and through the music and the fact that I spend thousands of hours practicing. And so, but it's the same thing with our mind. We have to really understand this, that we're raised in a society where we're not taught that we have an instrument. We have a piano. Our mind is like an instrument. If someone never played the piano and they went over there and they started banging away, you'd probably go, oh, let's leave. We make a lot of kind of disharmonious music, right? It's the same with our mind. If we're not trained to understand our mind and how to use our mind, we make a lot of disharmonious music with our mind, right? We kind of criticize and blame and shame, and we're busy and we're thinking and so forth. And because we've never been taught in our society, we have this beautiful instrument, this incredible instrument, our mind, and we're not taught how to properly think or refrain from thinking, how to have our attention in one place, just to put it somewhere and just be focused. We're taught to be distracted all the time, to be entertained by TV, to be bombarded with negative images, and that works very well if you want to have a population of people who will basically consume products and not ask questions and go through life fulfilling somebody else's purpose, not their own purpose. That works very well, But what unity is about is liberation. I mean, what all spiritual traditions are about is liberation out of the delusion of being a fundamentally separate self, here to use others as instruments to get what we want. Right? When everyone's under that delusion, we haven't trained our mind to be quiet and also to see others as expressions of the same life we are, to honor them and respect them. Then we create relationships based on using others as instruments to fulfill our own desires. We do this with animals, right? All the time. We just buy and sell them by the pound, kill them, eat them, and so forth. We don't care about them. We learn just they don't care, they don't matter. And so that whole template of not caring about nature, about animals, it's not our fault. We're born into a culture where this is rampant. So what Charles and Myrtle Fillmore emphasized is coming back home and cultivating kindness and respect and compassion for others and for ourselves, and realizing that the world that's outside of us is really a projection of our own consciousness. The more we purify our own consciousness, the more we are connected with a beautiful world. The world becomes more and more beautiful and loving and joyful and abundant, the more our own consciousness becomes peaceful and full of gratitude for this precious opportunity of human life. So one of the things I think we need to all connect with is the underlying idea that what we are is infinite consciousness that makes this possible. We're not just this body. Like if I'm waving right now, you've seen this, my hand waving, but you can't see me, right? You see this, you see this thing waving. It's not me. And we can't see, we see, it's like a footprint, you know, if you're walking along at, at the beach and you see a footprint in the sand, you don't walk up to the footprint and say, hello, George, how are you doing, you know? That's a somebody left that footprint, that's not, so this is the footprint here, this is the footprint waving, you don't see the being, we can't see the being. The being is what makes this possible, it's eternal, and this is a vehicle. So that's the truth for all of us, but to understand that, we're called to quiet our mind and be able to rest in an inner knowing that we're not just the coming and goings of our thoughts and feelings and the physical body. And when we take time to do that, like when I was, I shaved my head, and there was this monk, I was sitting again for thousands of hours. I feel like this. But eventually, it pays off because there's a realization that whatever happens in the outer world, it's like clouds in the sky. Whatever those clouds do, they can't harm the sky. The sky is infinite and eternal. No matter how cloudy it gets, no matter how dark those clouds are, the sky exists in another dimension. And that's us. We are the sky. What we are is eternal consciousness. We may have a runny nose, a sore throat, maybe somebody dropped a ball on our foot and it hurts, whatever it is. But we're the sky. And the more we can come back to that and remember that and also see that in others, see in them the perfection, the infinite perfection of being, then we become healers. We are healers as we understand that, as we have the discipline to question the cultural narrative that reduces all of us to objects, to be consumers. We're not consumers. We are what makes this all possible. When we go to meditate, it's like having a popcorn popping machine that we can't find the off switch. It's just out running all the time. We're thinking. And those thoughts, basically, that never stop, are all organized around this sense of me and myself and what I want and what I don't want and what I hope I get and what I hope I don't get and I hope they do and I hope they don't do. And what am I going to have for lunch and what am I going to have for, it's just kind of continually reinforcing this illusion of being the self itself. And if everyone has that illusion, we're all trying to get something. That's called, in the Buddhist tradition, that's called samsara. Samsara means suffering that never ends. Because as long as we're in that delusion of being separate and trying to get things, it's never going to get enough. So the whole idea is to realize that that's a delusion. What we are is watching this whole thing. We're the infinite consciousness in which this is all arising. And when we begin to see that, then we can begin to be a force for healing, force for love and awakening, a force for kindness and mercy and tenderness and gentleness, for other expressions of life. Everyone is wounded. Everyone is suffering, really. And there's no point in blaming others. They've been wounded as little kids. As soon as we're born, we're wounded. The way in our society birth is done, the way education is done, the way religion is done, the way politics and economics is done, it's all harmful to us. So it's beautiful. It's nothing more sacred and wonderful than to have a space like this, a sacred space where we can come together and realize and reaffirm and explore the truth that what we are is beyond this, and we can help transform this. Actually, this world that we're in to a more benevolent and more positive experience. And I think this is the key thing to realize, that all of us, if we quiet our mind enough, we'll see that there's deep within us is a bubbling spring of joy that's always going. No matter what's happening in the outer world, it's always there. So I just want to close maybe with a brief story in my own life. When I was a kid growing up, I grew up in Concord, Massachusetts, which was kind of an neat place to grow up because it was where there was all these revolutions. I remember 1775, Harley and Man is now alive. There remembers the famous day in here at the Midnight Ride of Paul Revere. Remember, so every April 19th, that was Patriots Day, my father would get on his Minuteman outfit and take the gun off the wall, and we'd go down to the Old North Bridge and we would reenact the battle, and we'd send the British back to Boston, and we would celebrate a revolution, And then in the 1800s, there was another revolution. That was the Transcendentalist Revolution. So I was born in Emerson Hospital and learned to swim in Walden Pond. I went to Thoreau School and Alcott School. There was this whole connection with the Transcendentalists, and they were the first ones to bring teachings from Asia to North America, actually. Thoreau had the largest library of books on Buddhism and Taoism, the Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita and all this stuff. So they were really questioning, and this is really an important part of unity, because this was very inspirational for Charles Fillmore. These were the first people that actually started talking about God as mind, for example, this, from the Buddhist tradition, where God as this impersonal principle that just always operates, from the Taoist tradition, or God as female, from the Hindu tradition. Now these teachings are really enriched and really created the foundation for the New Thought movement that we're part of. And but for me, when I went away to college in the early 1970s, I remember starting to read and explore these teachings, and one book especially kind of shed light on the whole thing really well. It was an old book called Cosmic Consciousness, written by Richard Buck in 1890. The basic thesis was that there's certain, most people, he said, are in what he calls self-consciousness. That's caring about myself, right? And he said that's basically where everybody's at, is suffering. Here we are competing and struggling. But he said certain people transcended that into a state what he called cosmic consciousness. People like Jesus and the Buddha and other great saints and sages, both men and women through the ages. And he talked about them as examples. And the basic idea was that these people who attained cosmic consciousness were at a whole different level of kindness and caring. They lost the fear of death. They had this moral elevation and so forth. And so he said it is the destiny and it is the purpose of all human beings to attain cosmic consciousness. That's why we're here. We're not here, So I remember reading this and getting on fire, with these ideas, and going back home on spring break or whatever it was, and telling my father, Dad, we're not here just to make money and have a business and all that. We're here to attain cosmic consciousness. Isn't that great? And my father said, I'm spending a lot of money on this education. It's not going to help you get ahead in the world, But to my delight, my younger brother Ed, when I told him these ideas, he said, yes, let's do it. Let's attain cosmic consciousness. So as soon as I graduated from Colby College, I remember we put together, we thought, so now we want to attain cosmic consciousness, but what do we do? That's the problem. What do you do now? We thought about it for a while, and then we knew what to do. What we'll do is we'll go to California. We thought if we go to California, we'll attain cosmic consciousness. So we left home. I remember in 1975, we walked down the driveway, had a backpack with fresh baked cookies from my mother. We were heading to California. We were going to walk to California and attain cosmic consciousness. And so we walked for quite a while. We walked after about a month and a half, 2 months, we'd gone as far as Buffalo. And in Buffalo, it was already freezing. It was October. And we were thinking, well, I can figure it out. We better head south. So we actually, from that point, we walked all the way down through upstate New York into Pennsylvania, across Pennsylvania into West Virginia, across West Virginia into Kentucky. We hit the Bible Belt. They tried to save us every night. I mean, it's really intense. And we said, anyway, we walked across Kentucky into Tennessee, and in Tennessee was interesting. We ran into, we stayed for a while at a community called The Farm. The Farm in 1975 was the largest hippie commune in the world. They had about 1,000 people living there, all from California. But here they are, But we actually kept going to Alabama. We ended up eventually at a Zen center in Alabama, if you can believe that. But, and eventually did get up to California a few years later, and ended up in a Tibetan Buddhist center, and then a Zen monk in Korea, and all these other things. But the whole thing, the point I want to make here, just in closing now, because I see it's about time to wrap it up, is that it's really this inner capacity that we all have, I think, to connect with our intuition, to just live our life. Intuition is the inner knowing that we all have that will guide us to live our life. It doesn't mean life is easy, but it means it's our life. And so when we do that, we feel a sense of joy, just a natural sense of joy. And I remember that walking with my brother and somewhere, in the middle of West Virginia, we didn't have any reason to be happy, right? We were not doing what we were supposed to do. We were not following orders. We didn't have any security or safety. We didn't have any money. We didn't have anything. But I remember walking along and just having these waves of joy washing over me. And I think it was because I was living my life. And I think all of us, when we're living our life, then it's inherently wonderful. Whatever the challenges are, we have a feeling that this is my life. And that's why we're here on this earth. Because each one of us, when we connect with our intuition, when we follow that and live our life, our unique life, that's the greatest gift we can give, not only to ourselves and our loved ones, but to everyone around us. Because that's giving people permission and encouraging them to live their life. That's the best gift we can give. We can't live somebody else's life. We're always being bombarded by people who are telling us, do this, don't do that. that doesn't get anywhere. But when we live our own life with joy and health and compassion and freedom, then we help others. And so I think this is the main point I want to close with. It's just this idea that there's two dimensions, really. One is the inner work. I've been talking about that, of meditation, of inner silence. So when we as individuals, each one of us does the inner work every day to do our best to have kindness in our relationships, to be quiet inside, to be aware of our mind, to use the instrument of our mind and practice with our instrument. That's one thing. And then the other is to create communities. Like when we come together and create the unity community, where we're actually helping the ancient wisdom teachings to go forth into our world, for our children, and for the benefit of the world, then we're here on this planet doing something that really makes a difference, a positive difference. We're being part of the solution here rather than just being part of the problem. So I want to thank all of you. I know that if you're here, you are doing the inner work, and you're also helping to support a community that is doing very important work to help raise the consciousness of humanity on this earth. So much love to all of you, and thank you very much for all the efforts you're making. Thank you. Thank you very much.